Okay, so my dear students, let us start transcription number 237. Be ready? Start. The very informing and very useful debate that we have had on the motion has, I am sure, given government a great deal of food for thought. Many suggestions have been made which I have been thankful to find are very largely in accordance with government's own ideas on the problems which devaluation has thrown up, and I have no doubt in my mind that when we set up a suitable machinery for bringing about increased possibilities of consultation between the government and parliament in these matters, we should be able to push things forward to a satisfactory stage. I am glad that my honorable colleagues, the ministers of food and supply and commerce and industry, have been able to participate in this debate, because most of those issues which have been raised in the course of the debate are issues which are concerned with the ministries which they represent, and they are naturally able to speak with fuller knowledge about them. I wish in the little time that I have at my disposal this evening to confine myself to certain broad consideration which honorable members have raised in the course of the discussion. I am fully in agreement with the suggestion made by various speakers that what we need today at the stage that we have reached is not so much more proposals as more willingness, ability and readiness to implement proposals. The question of implementation is really the most vital question that we have to face today. The more I think of the economic problems with which the country is faced today, the more I feel that at bottom they are not really economic problems in the sense of technical economics, but they are really problems of administration. You look at any of these problems which are causing us worry and anxiety in these days. You will find that deep down they resolve themselves into problems of efficient and honest administration. Now, the question of administration is bound very closely with the other idea which has been suggested by several honorable speakers, namely the idea of coordination. When honorable members speak of coordination, they are thinking apparently only of government at the highest level that we here represent. I beg to suggest to the House that from the point of view of coordination, what is more important is cooperation at a much lower level than what we represent. As far as the center is concerned, there has been a suggestion made from various quarters of the House that what we seem to be suffering from as far as the central government is concerned is lack of coordination between the various ministries. For some months now, we have been working with an economic committee of the cabinet in which all the ministers who are concerned with the economic side of administration meet often, sometimes twice a week, to consider jointly the economic problems that affect them all. And since I am perhaps very directly concerned with the working of that committee, I think I have some right to say that we have made a certain measurable degree of progress in the matter of coordination at the center. But as my honorable friend Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee mentioned, the question of coordination is equally important as between the center and the states. Some of our greatest difficulties arise from the fact that under the kind of constitutional system under which we are working today, policy is laid down by the center, but the execution of the policy is in the hands of state governments. If there is not enough coordination, if there is not sufficient attempt on the part of the two agencies of government to get together and work out their problems jointly, we shall not be able to make the progress that we all desire. I do hope in the days which are immediately ahead of us, as soon as the Constitution has come into force, we probably shall have at our disposal a more effective machinery for this purpose. Sir, in the speech which I made on the motion before the House, I placed before honorable members the program that the government have in mind in order to meet the difficulties created by devaluation. If I may take the most important of the difficulties that we have to face, the most important directions in which government have to move, I would mention three particularly. Now I come to the main bill. It goes without saying that a change is needed in the patents law because our last act is of 1911. 1911 is a period when this country was industrially not at all developed. It is very necessary to see how our law should be modified in order that the patents law is not detrimental to consumer interest and is not prejudicial to the industrial development of the country. If the law stands against these two, then it has to be changed. Therefore, an attempt has been made to change the law. The third point I think that we have got to keep in mind, to which my honorable friend Dr. Shyama Prasad has referred, is the question of increasing the productive capacity of the country. That of course goes to the root of all the problems with which we are faced, and in the circumstances in which we are placed, I have no doubt that all the agencies of government concerned with production would do their best to meet this difficult situation. Suggestions have been made by honorable members to the effect that there should be a suitable machinery which would enable government to take into confidence representative elements of the House so that the proposals which government have in hand might be formulated and might be implemented with their assistance. Government have decided to appoint a committee, an ad hoc committee, for the purpose of considering what measures should be taken to meet the problems created by devaluation and also to determine whether adequate progress is being made in the matter of implementing these proposals from time to time. Stop. Okay, take 1 minute gap and let us start. The transcription number 238, 100 words per minute, 1000 words. Be ready. 5 seconds. Start. The third point I think that we have got to keep in mind, to which my honorable friend Dr. Shyama Prasad has referred, is the question of increasing the productive capacity of the country. That of course goes to the root of all the problems with which we are faced, and in the circumstances in which we are placed, I have no doubt that all the agencies of government concerned with production would do their best to meet this difficult situation. Suggestions have been made by honorable members to the effect that there should be a suitable machinery which would enable government to take into confidence representative elements of the House so that the proposals which government have in hand might be formulated and might be implemented with their assistance. Government have decided to appoint a committee, an ad hoc committee, for the purpose of considering what measures should be taken to meet the problems created by devaluation and also to determine whether adequate progress is being made in the matter of implementing these proposals from time to time. Government have accepted the proposals made by honorable members to that effect, and I hope with the approval of the Deputy Prime Minister to make a very early announcement of the composition and terms of reference of the committee. There are just one or two other matters that I want to refer to. There has been a great deal of reference during the debate to the question of our relation to sterling. Although honorable members like Professor Ranga were prepared to admit that formally now there is no such thing as a link between the rupee and the sterling, circumstances are such that there appears to be a link which we are not able to get away from, and I have no doubt that what he has at the back of his mind is that since all this trouble arises from the fact that the greater part of our trade is with the sterling area, it is necessary that we should recognize our trade in such a manner that the sterling area will not dominate our foreign trade to the extent that it does now. The difficulty about that is this. As Pandit Thakurdas Bhargava said in his speech yesterday, you cannot get away overnight from the commitments which history has made for us during the last many years. It is a very difficult thing to build up trade connections, but it is a quite easy thing to destroy them, rightly or wrongly, for purely accidental reasons or by historical developments. It so happens today that most of our trade connections are with the countries in the Sterling area, and I think it would be a mistake from the point of view of our own interests to do anything which will destroy these long-standing trade connections which are of very great help to us. What we might do in order to achieve the kind of objective that honorable members have in mind is not to reduce or to destroy the trade connections which we have in the Sterling area, but to build up new connections in other areas so that the existing trade connections that we have in the Sterling area would not be so large a proportion of our total foreign trade. That is really the direction in which we ought to move. There is one other point I want to raise. That is a point which Mr. Munshi mentioned, that the circumstance which seems to stand in the way of increasing production in the country, of helping progress on saving and investment, is the way in which the income tax administration of the country is doing its job. I have been in very close touch with the subject because of representations I have had from various quarters, and my own feeling is that the officers of our income tax department, engaged as they are in an extremely thankless job, are trying to do their best in order to bring about a better tradition in this matter. I have for some time felt that one of the difficulties of our income tax administration is that we have not yet been able to establish anything like a satisfactory liaison between the income tax administration and the public with whom that administration deals. In other countries, I think there has been a great deal of development by research in the matter of cultivating satisfactory relations between those who collect income tax and those who pay it. It is one of my objects at present in regard to the question of income tax, that we should have some kind of organization which will give our officers in the income tax department the right attitude with regard to the question of dealing with the public. Sir, if I intervene at this stage of the debate, it is not for the purpose of saying much on the factors which led to devaluation, because that is a matter which has already been dealt with by the finance minister, but I would like to confine my remarks mainly to one aspect of the problem which has been emphasized by more speakers than one, and that is with regard to the effects of devaluation on production in India. It was some comfort to find that in some matters at least we had support from strange quarters. I mean my honorable friends, the previous speakers, who very ably justified the large imports of capital goods which have come to this country in the course of the last year. Stop. चलिए अब जल्दी से इसके डिफिकल्ट वर्ड्स देख सकते हैं. इन्फॉर्मिंग में इनकी बिंदी लगाइए. लोअर लेवल, ग्रेट डील, लेसर देन, वन इकट्ठा लिख सकते हैं. थैंकफुल, मेजरेबल में स्पेलिंग याद करिएगा. ई नहीं आता जब इकट्ठा एबल हो जाता है. कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल, इन अकॉर्डेंस विद आप इकट्ठा लिख सकते हैं. ब्रिंकिंग अबाउट, मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट. माई ऑनरेबल कलीग फुलर, एट माई डिस्पोजल. इंडस्ट्रियली एट माई डिस्पोजल को इकट्ठा लिखना लेकिन तीन वर्ड्स हैं. इन एग्रीमेंट, इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन, इंडस्ट्रियल डेवलपमेंट, यू कैन राइट इट लाइक दिस. इन एग्रीमेंट विद द को आप इकट्ठा कर सकते हैं मेंट के एंटी को हटाकर. विलिंगनेस, देन एडहॉक, इम्प्लीमेंटेशन, अपरेंटली. कीप इन माइंड को इकट्ठा कर सकते हैं. एट दिस स्टेज को इकट्ठा कर सकते हैं लेकिन मोटा वाला सर्कल डालिएगा. रीऑर्गेनाइज, रीऑर्गेनाइजेशन. इन सम मैटर्स, एम्फासाइज्ड. देन टर्म्स ऑफ रेफरेंस. स्टर्लिंग, ओवरनाइट में आई का वॉवल डालो ताकि वो पढ़ा जाए. कमिटमेंट्स, एस का सर्कल दिखना चाहिए. एक्सीडेंटल, प्रोपोर्शन, एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, सेटिस्फैक्टरी, रिलेशंस इकट्ठा कर सकते हैं विद रिगार्ड टू द. ठीक है, दिस इज ऑल फॉर टुडे. एंड इसकी अच्छे से प्रैक्टिस कीजिए और इसको जितना हो सके बार बार प्रैक्टिस कीजिए सो दैट यू विल बी एबल टू राइट इन द एग्जाम. थैंक यू सो मच.